welcome back to the channel, welcome back Explorers. My name's Jack. You join me here today, as you can tell by the title, watching some of the worst WWE injuries there are. I am expecting to see some Mankind. I am expecting to see at least Shane O'Mac getting his head bounced off the floor when they put the fake plexiglass in, or whatever it was years ago. I'm old. I grew up during the Attitude Era. I remember watching Big Boss Man get in the cell. As a kid, genuinely panicked thinking the man was being on TV. Hilarious. He kind of was in a way. But we are going to be looking at some of the worst injuries. If you're new around here and you like what you see, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. If you're old around here, welcome back Explorers. Glad you're still here enjoying. Please, let me know down in the comments who your favourite wrestler of all time was, and a wrestler you cannot stand. Who can't I stand in the wrestling world? Honestly, I'm going to get so much flack for this. I'm bored of The Rock. I think everything The Rock does now is pure, and I know it's the game and it's the business and blah 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 blah. That's why I've only got 4,000 subscribers and he's got $400 million. But I feel like he's so fake now. I know wrestling's fake, don't worry about that, boys and girls. But I just feel like The Rock is so fake. Everything he does now, if it isn't a sales pitch, it isn't anything that he's going to be interested in. So, let me know yours down in the comments. I won't keep you here too long, as this is a long video. Headphones on, and without further ado, join me, won't you?
WWE might be scripted, but if you think wrestlers don't get seriously hurt, well,
oh, they
keep
do.
Watching. While getting ready for a shot at the Raw Women's Championship, Rhea Ripley wanted to prove she was worthy of being a champion. What better way to do that than by taking on Nia Jax live on Raw? The two had a good match, but at one point, Ripley accidentally cut Jax near her eye. As the fight continued, the cut became worse and worse until almost half of Nia Jax's face was covered in blood.
And
Luckily,
in the PG era,
of course, was able to finish the match. However, she ended up losing when Rhea Ripley rolled her up for the 3 count. The SmackDown Women's Championship match at WrestleMania 37 was phenomenal.
Was it the suicide dive that went wrong?
Belair destroyed each other and would do anything to win. However, when the boss tried to mess with Belair's hair, that was going too far.
Oh my God!
It was just as painful as it
What
sounds.
is it they put in her weave to make that sound?
Bianca Belair's hair whipped her. Luckily, the match was over shortly after that. This next injury wasn't caused by a move at all. In early 2021, the Hurt Business was having some issues with the Lucha House Party. This led to a series of matches against the two teams. One of them was a 3-on-3 tag team match with Matt Riddle, Lince Dorado, and Grand Metalik. While the match started competitive, MVP, Cedric Alexander, and Shelton Benjamin eventually got things under control and isolated Grand Metalik from his tag team partners. One mistake was all it took though, and the Luchador was able to tag in Matt Riddle. Things went from bad to worse. When MVP came running into the ring, his right knee suddenly blew out. It was clear that something was wrong, as MVP had to hop around for the rest of the match. To throw salt into the wound, the Hurt Business ended up losing the match. Luckily, MVP continued to appear on TV, even though he couldn't.
What happened?
At WrestleMania 37, Sheamus won the United States Championship. To her tag team partner's rescue and kicked Asuka in the face.
For real?
Baszler accidentally hit a bit too hard and one of Asuka's teeth went flying out of her mouth.
Oh shit!
Of course, this wasn't planned. Because of it, the Empress of Tomorrow had to take a short amount of time off to recover.
Honestly,
before Daniel Bryan was released from WWE,
I should not have to preface this 2 minutes in. You're all old enough watching my channel to understand. Do not do this at home. You're all adults. Don't go kicking each other's teeth out. Teeth out. Even when you're drunk. Honestly, that choke slam, it ain't worth it through a table. Trust me.
he had a series of great matches with Cesaro. The two gave it their all, but things did go wrong. During one of their matches on SmackDown, Daniel Bryan hit Cesaro with a huge missile dropkick shortly after the match
that's
started.
when he pushed his teeth up into his gums, wasn't it?
A cut on the side of Cesaro's head. At first, it didn't seem too bad.
I'm thinking of loads of different injuries. Sorry, I'm just going to shut up. I remember Cesaro got his teeth kicked into his gums at one point, didn't he?
But it quickly got worse and worse. By the end of the match, the cut was looking pretty nasty. Despite the loss of blood, the Swiss Superman managed to win the match. On
The
NXT,
strongest wrestler in
Roderick
WWE,
Strong
apparently.
issued an open challenge.
Other than Mark Henry. Don't come in the comments coming at me. All wrestlers say John Cena is only usually beaten by Cesaro as the strongest for their size. Cesaro is ridiculously strong.
Perhaps to Strong's surprise, he got an answer from Russia. Ilya Dragunov took Roderick Strong up on his offer, and the two went at it. Dragunov took Strong to his version of Suplex City, but Ilya accidentally did some damage to himself. Roderick Strong fell on Ilya Dragunov's head, which caused the Russian wrestler to start bleeding between the eyes. It only got worse as the match went on, but the pain was worth it, as Ilya Dragunov won the match.
Though.
The cut was so bad, however, that Dragunov needed stitches afterward. Be prepared to cringe in 3, 2... During a 6-woman tag team match on Raw, Becky Lynch started messing with her opponent, Bianca Belair's hair. As you just saw, it didn't work out well for Becky. Moments after the hair whip, a huge red mark formed on Lynch's stomach. It didn't put Becky Lynch out of action, but that
lever or something at the end of it.
The next time Becky and Bianca would face off in the ring was at WrestleMania 38. Unfortunately, someone suffered a nasty injury during this match too. At one point, it looked like Becky was trying to perform a vertical senton. Something was off, and the only thing that connected was Becky Lynch's heel to Bianca Belair's face. Despite the painful accident, Belair continued the match and ended up winning the Raw Women's Championship.
Listen here.
It looked like Bianca was fine,
the high flying to the luchadors.
Just how extensive Belair's injury was. Her left eye looked terrible, but despite that, Bianca Belair was still in good spirits. Hopefully this doesn't mean that 2022 is cursed, but the very first WWE match of the year had someone getting injured.
This is old.
Cesaro and Ricochet were facing off against Sheamus and Ridge Holland during the Day 1 kickoff show. Only about a minute into the match, and Cesaro flipped Ricochet onto Ridge Holland. Unfortunately, Ricochet's boot landed on Holland's face. Ridge soon tagged out and wasn't seen for the rest of the match. We learned later that the botched move broke Ridge Holland's nose. Thankfully, it wasn't too serious, and Ridge Holland was wrestling again soon. But in a scary coincidence, Ridge would later botch a move that could have ended someone's career. While teaming with Sheamus, Ridge Holland was in a match with
it's all fake, but landing on concrete outside the ring, even if it's padded, hurts.
Leading to Ridge hitting E with an overhead
it's just a broken neck.
Suplex. Big E didn't get high enough on his head to land on the floor. It was incredibly scary to see. The accident caused Big E to break his neck.
That makes my skin go cold.
Medical attention, it was thankfully discovered that Big E's spinal cord wasn't injured and he would not need surgery. However, as of right now, E has not wrestled since that match. Drew McIntyre began 2022 by feuding with Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss. Their rivalry went on for a few months and included a match at Elimination Chamber. At the event, McIntyre took on Moss in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Even though they could fight anywhere, the most painful moment of the match actually happened in the ring. The match had only been going on for a few minutes when Drew McIntyre planned Madcap Moss with an Alabama slam. Something went wrong.
Why? You over-rotated way too hard.
The most shocking part is that Madcap Moss walked it off and continued the match like the whole thing didn't happen. In his WrestleMania debut, Rick Boogs had the huge honor of being part of the opening match. Boogs teamed up with Shinsuke Nakamura to challenge SmackDown champions, the Usos. Shinsuke started the match, but after a bit of fighting, tagged out with Rick Boogs. Rick was running wild, but his rampage came to an abrupt stop.
Yeah, when he double lifted and they both blew.
He lifted both Usos on his back. Rick Boogs quickly tagged out with Nakamura. It turned out that Boogs tore his quadricep and hasn't been in action since the injury. In February 2022, Randy Orton and Matt Riddle found themselves in a tag team match against the Street Profits on Raw. The match was going smoothly until the finish.
What was it? RK Bro.
Performed his signature frog splash on Orton, but Ford's position was off and he landed on Randy's shoulder.
When are we going to learn frog splashes and moonsaults should... Don't bring them in your arsenal unless you are completely sure you're not going to hurt someone.
Viper was clearly in pain after the botched move, but thankfully it wasn't anything serious.
You've had worse than that, Randolph.
Natalya took on Shayna Baszler in a one-on-one match, but Ronda Rousey was in Baszler's corner. Baszler didn't need any help though, as she's able to beat her opponent on her own. After the match though, Rousey told Shayna the job wasn't finished yet, leading to the Queen of Spades nailing Natalya with a knee to the face. The move actually did connect though, and Natalya's nose was broken and bleeding. Unfortunately, the accident accident actually dislocated Natalia's nose, and it required her to undergo surgery. SummerSlam 2022
It's only cartilage, it will grow back.
challenging Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship, which was a rematch from WrestleMania 38, which was a rematch from the previous year's SummerSlam. However, only about 3 minutes into it, Becky fell on her right shoulder. The landing caused Lynch's shoulder to pop out of its socket, and it was clear Becky was in pain as she kept checking on it throughout the match. The injury became more and more visible as the match progressed, but Lynch didn't let it stop her, and she got the job done. In November 2022, R-Truth wrestled his first match on
wrestlers,
NXT
unless they
2011,
physically
but
can't move, they will keep going.
Decision.
And it's mad.
During the match, Truth performed a somersault to his opponent on the outside. Truth gripped the top rope belt and didn't far enough, causing him to crash hard onto the floor. The former 24/7 champion grabbed his left leg, and the referee soon called off the match, and R-Truth was helped backstage. It was later found out that the accident tore Truth's quad, and he needed to undergo surgery. One of the defining images of 2022 was Cody Rhodes' gruesome, torn pectoral muscle.
I've torn a bicep muscle, and I promise you now, just extending your arm is agony. The fact that Cody Rhodes...
But how did he actually get injured? On the
oh my god, he's mad!
match with Seth Rollins, Rhodes and Rollins got into a brawl. During the fight, Cody tore his right pectoral tendon. That was bad enough, but a few days later, while weight training, Rhodes tore the tendon completely off the bone. That's why the injury looked so bad when fans saw it at Hell in a Cell. Additionally, the reason WWE allowed Cody Rhodes to wrestle was that he couldn't do any more damage. Nevertheless, the injury sidelined Cody Rhodes.
He couldn't do any more damage.
This injury was pretty unique. On Raw in June 2022, Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, and Doudrop fought in a fatal four-way match. The winner got to face Bianca Belair at Money in the Bank for the Raw Women's Championship. At one point in the match, Morgan gave Bliss a kick to the gut, which caused Alexa to DDT Ripley. What actually hurt Rhea, though, was her own knee. Ripley's boot got caught on the rope, which caused
her in the face
to collide with the leg. It didn't seem so bad until Rhea Ripley shared a picture of the damage the accident caused to her mouth. On top of that, the injury also gave Ripley a concussion. Thankfully, after about a month on the sidelines, Rhea was back in action. Not all WWE injuries happen on TV. During a different match at a non-televised WWE show, Carmella, Asuka, and Bianca Belair all faced off for...
Who was the dude that Gravity forgot? Was it Evan Bourne?
The Raw Women's title. As the match was starting to come to the end, Carmella tried to pull a fast one on Belair by attacking her from behind. Bianca got out of harm's way with a backflip, but Carmella immediately crumbled to the mat and went outside of the ring. It appears their timing was off, and Belair's tailbone smacked Carmella's head. An image was later shared on social media showing exactly the damage the botch move did to Mella. Whenever weapons get involved, it's very easy for a wrestler to get hurt, and we witnessed this on SmackDown in August 2022. In the lead up to his match against Roman Reigns at Clash at the Castle, McIntyre took on Honoré Uce, Sami Zayn. McIntyre won the match, but he didn't end the night on a high note. Roman and the Usos came in and attacked the Scottish Warrior. They battered McIntyre with chairs and threw his body all around the ringside area. You could already see marks forming on Drew's body, but up-close pictures taken backstage showed just how much damage the beatdown did to McIntyre. You know an injury is bad when the match is immediately stopped and the referee throws up the X sign.
It is entertainment.
That's what happened in the main event of NXT UK in February 2022.
Good old England running it.
Satomura fought in a Japanese street fight. Despite the match type, the injury was not caused by any weapon. Davenport jumped from the top turnbuckle and hit Satomura with a stomp to the back. Blair landed awkwardly on her left foot and began shouting
that's a broken ankle. That's a broken, maybe.
That this injury was real. The landing hurt Blair's
suicide
ankle, but thankfully, after being out of action for about 4 months, Blair was able to return to the ring. Ladder matches are some of those brutal matches WWE
They're made of wood. Shut up.
And the 2022 Women's Money in the Bank was no exception. One of the participants was Shotzi, who had a rough night. She had a few mistakes during the match, but the worst was when she went for a senton. Shotzi performed the move from the top rope, but ended up hitting the ladder below. It appears her back and or head got clipped by the ladder on the way down. In any case, the move did bust Shotzi open, as evident by the blood on her face. In 2009, Jeff Hardy and Edge faced off in a ladder match with the World Heavyweight Championship.
And they're going to show Joey Saturn getting his face blown open again.
But unfortunately, it wasn't without issues. Hardy and Edge had been wrestling for a while and ended up on a ladder that was outside of the ring. The structure tipped over, and both men went crashing through a second ladder. Unfortunately, the charismatic Enigma overshot it and ended up landing on the floor. The fall injured Jeff Hardy's shoulder, but he was able to continue the match. Say what you will about Brock Lesnar, the guy can hurt you
Dangerous.
for real. After a long absence from WWE, Lesnar made his in-ring return at the 2012 Extreme Rules. His opponent was John Cena, and in less than 30 seconds, Brock had busted Cena's head wide open. It was so bad that the match had to be stopped temporarily. Lesnar was so reckless during the match, he ended up hurting himself too. Later on, the Beast dove at John Cena and ended up flipping out of the ring and onto the floor.
I remember
Like he hurt his knee, but both wrestlers were able to keep fighting and finish the match.
The thing
This
is with
next
Brock,
injury
he's
shows how
so
dangerous
agile
wrestling
for how
can
big
be,
he is.
even if you
And
aren't
he's so
involved in the
fast.
match. The 2011 Extreme Rules was a big moment. After Edge vacated the World Heavyweight Championship, Christian and Alberto Del Rio fought to become the new champion. It looked like Captain Charisma was about to grab the title until Del Rio's bodyguard, Brodus Clay, ran in. Christian managed to get the better of Brodus and throw a ladder into his face. Unfortunately, the weapon busted open Brodus Clay's head. Luckily it wasn't too serious, and Clay was ready to get back to work very soon. Even dead man bleeds. In 2019, The Undertaker made a rare appearance at Extreme Rules, teaming up with Roman Reigns to take on Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre. The tag team match was nothing short of chaos, and it only got worse when Elias ran in and smashed a guitar into Undertaker's back. Unfortunately, splinters from the wooden guitar got stuck in Undertaker's skin. It was made clear that something went wrong as blood began to pour from the Phenom's back. Thankfully, it wasn't anything the dead man couldn't handle, and he got the last laugh when he tombstone piledrived Shane McMahon and won the match.
That's
the
boring,
2004 Royal Rumble was going pretty smoothly until the final
no blood
minutes.
should be seen, but
the remaining 5 wrestlers formed an alliance to try and eliminate the Big Show. They threw everything they had, but this only angered the Giant. Show eventually fought back and used his monstrous strength to catapult John Cena over the top rope. The future 16-time world champion bent his knee awkwardly when he landed, and it resulted in him tearing his MCL, even though he had to wear a knee brace for a while and was temporarily limited with what he could do in the ring. Cena continued to compete, even appearing on SmackDown only 5 days after his injury. I guess that's why he's called the Champ. The 2008 Royal Rumble was kind of a big deal. It was held in Madison Square Garden, Michael Buffer was the guest announcer. It was the first WWE pay-per-view in HD, and Shawn Michaels and Undertaker were the first 2 entrants. Everything was fine, until the 4th participant, Hardcore Holly, got into the ring. Michaels was lying on the mat, so Holly decided to assault him with a few stomps. Pretty normal wrestling stuff.
You kicked him in the face!
Landed straight on HBK's face. After laying low for a short while, the showstopper got back into the action. At first it didn't look so bad, but that changed pretty quickly as blood began to pour from Shawn Michaels' nose. Even with this, Michaels continued wrestling for roughly half an hour before being eliminated, all with a bloody and probably broken nose. It's interesting looking back at CM Punk's final days in WWE, now that we have insight into what was going on. When the Voice of the Voiceless entered the 2014 Royal Rumble, he was upset with things backstage and was also suffering from a staph infection, so before the bell even run, Punk was not in the best place. This is made even worse when the number 8 entrant, Kofi Kingston, got into the ring. In signature fashion, Kofi got started by hitting a clothesline, and while it may have looked normal, CM Punk later revealed that he actually got a concussion from it. To make matters worse, Punk wrestled for another 40 minutes before being eliminated, and also received a chokeslam from Kane through one of the announcers.
My old man Kane!
I can't speak for the man, but I'm guessing he isn't too fond of this night. While all these injuries were unfortunate, this one may be the saddest. Having made his WWE debut 7 months earlier, the 2003 Royal Rumble was going to be Chris Nowinski's first appearance at the event. He entered very early at a number 3 position, and wisely decided to stay on the outside for a while. Eventually, when the moment was right, he slid into the ring and began getting his hands dirty. As the match continued, Rey Mysterio and Edge went to double-team Nowinski and got on opposite turnbuckles to hit dueling missile dropkicks. However, their timing was off, and Edge ended up landing on the Harvard graduate's head. Instantly, you can tell Chris Nowinski was in pain, and thankfully, he was eliminated not long after. He would still wrestle for a little while after this, but ongoing post-concussion symptoms ultimately led him to retire. After his classic rivalry with Bret, Stone Cold began feuding with another member of the Hart family, Owen. After squaring off the tag matches, the two finally went 1-on-1 at the 1997 SummerSlam. The matchup should have been a classic, but it's most well known for one moment. After competing for about 15 minutes, Owen performed a pile driver, and it was immediately clear that something was wrong. The impact caused Stone Cold to break his neck and suffer temporary paralysis. Owen Hart began taunting
Imagine
the crowd to buy the tech.
Imagine being paralysed and still going on and finishing a match. People do not realise, yes, it's fake. The people doing it know it's fake. The people watching it know it's fake. But people do get hurt. And you do have to be hard as a coffin nail to do this.
Texas rattlesnake some time, and after a minute
it ain't
that
UFC,
likely felt like an hour,
boxing
Steve
or
Austin managed to roll up Hart for the
This
win.
is supposed to be a
Thankfully,
completely
Stone Cold recovered and went on to
safe
become the
sport.
legend we know
And when
today.
injuries happen, they go
The
bad.
2016 SummerSlam was historic. The Universal Championship was unveiled, and Seth Rollins and Finn Balor got to square off to see who would become the first man to ever hold the title. The match started off alright, but within the first 3 minutes, disaster struck. Seth Rollins pulled Balor to the outside and sent the Demon King flying into the ringside barricade.
Oh, this is when he
impact
just
was
won the
so
title
hard
and he
that it
ripped his
caused Finn
shoulder.
Balor's shoulder to be dislocated, but despite the injury, the Irishman continued to wrestle for another 16
And then had to
minutes.
turn it over the
While
next
Finn
day.
did become the inaugural Universal Champion, he unfortunately had to relinquish it the next night in order to undergo shoulder surgery.
That was sad. He never really
The Prince
recovered
returned
from
the following year, but sadly hasn't won a single world title
Yeah,
since
he
then.
never recovered.
As part of Mabel's infamous main event push in 1995, the King of the Ring winner challenged the WWE Champion Diesel to a match at SummerSlam. The contest itself wasn't great, but was made even worse when King Mabel jumped onto Diesel. The force caused the champion to injure his lower back, and Diesel, or Kevin Nash, would later say he wasn't able to feel his legs. After laying on the mat for a while, the two men were able to get back on their feet and finish the match. According to Nash, after the show was over, WWE was ready to fire Mabel. However, despite being upset, Kevin Nash spoke up and prevented that from happening. In the midst of their love triangle storyline
Accidents
involving
happen.
Stephanie McMahon, Triple H and Kurt Angle faced off in a triple threat match at SummerSlam, which also included The Rock. The feud was so intense that the
He used to
Game
be the
and
best,
the
and now he
Olympic gold
doesn't know.
medalists began brawling before the Great One had even made his entrance. The fight eventually made its way to the outside, where Triple H decided to hit Angle with a pedigree on the Spanish announcer's table. The table accidentally gave way before the move was executed, and this caused Kurt to slam his head onto the floor. The Olympian ended up suffering a concussion and was taken to the back. Kurt Angle did return later in the match, and would later credit Stephanie McMahon and Triple H for helping him get through it.
Oof.
Unfortunately, the following SummerSlam in 2001 wasn't injury-free either, and ironically, this one involved Stephanie McMahon too. As part of the Invasion storyline, Rhino and Chris Jericho squared off after Y2J insulted the, quote, owner of ECW,
Man, I'm old.
During their SummerSlam match, Rhino countered a top rope dive from Jericho,
And he
with a
landed
door.
funny.
The impact caused Jericho's head to snap back and collide with the arena floor. It doesn't seem like it was too serious, but the Ayatollah of Rock and Roll did appear to be a bit dazed and even botched a couple of moves.
A little bit wobbly.
Luckily for Y2J, he's able to lock in the walls of Jericho and pick up the win.
Well, that's how you end it apparently. No goodbye, no nothing. Right. There's some more of these I'm actually interested to look at. So if you did enjoy these, let me know. Let me know, like I said, your favourite and worst wrestlers. Let me know if you've ever been to any of the big events in WWE, WWF, when it was WWF. And other than that, have a great day, be well, and bye-bye.